Hey guys, it's Dan. Just wanted to pop on here before the podcast and apologize for Kenton's audio quality. We're not sure what happened. It appears his audio was peaking and it just kind of cuts out and skips a little bit. So hopefully you can still understand what he's saying. I think it's still a good conversation that we have about various Star Wars things, and we'll do better next week. Enjoy the podcast.
I don't know. I can imagine quite a bit.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And I think I've started a bit of a tradition of starting our Star Wars podcast episodes with non-Star Wars related stories. So I have another one for you today.
Oh, great.
And I made a bit of an ass of myself on Facebook earlier this week. I caught at the end of a special. It was a CBS like special report or whatever. I don't know what the CBS equivalent of Nightline is or whatever, one of those news magazine shows. And the story was really interesting to me. It was about this spy ring, this Russian spy ring that was discovered. And this happened in like 2010, so like 10 years ago. And it was like four different families, four different couples living in and around, I think it was the New York area, and they were Russian spies, and they were living in America and pretending to be Americans, and they were just kind of working their way in. I think maybe one of them actually was in the Washington area. Anyway, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I can't believe this is like a thing that happened. I was like so blown away by this, and I posted a link to it. I read an online article about it. I'm like, oh, and it was all the whole information about everything that happened. And then I'm like, this is such a crazy story. So I shared it on Facebook. And I don't usually do this. I'm not a big Facebook sharer guy, but I just kind of felt like, wow, this is a big deal. And I said, I can't wait for them to make the movie or limited series. And then after a few minutes, I posted that and I kind of walked away from my phone and did something else. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. And I went back and said, wait, is this the Americans? Don't. It totally is the Americans. It's the plot for the Americans. But here's the thing. In my defense, and I know you've watched The Americans. You've said It's a very, very good series.
Yeah, it is.
In my defense, I knew one thing. Well, okay, I knew two things about The Americans going into it. I haven't watched it yet. Number one, it was about Russian spies. Number two, it happens during the Cold War. Okay? That's what I knew about The Americans. And so this actual event took place in 2010, not the Cold War, in modern times. And that's why I was blown away by it. I didn't know The Americans was still based on it, but the creator of the series decided to set it during the Cold War. So it was to be more realistic? I don't know. This is a real event that happened. Like, it was crazy to me that Russia, in 2010, Russia had sleeper agents in the U.S. and may still, who knows, there may still be ones out there.
Of course they do. Yeah.
And that, if you think about that leading into the 2016 election interference and all that other stuff, like it just, that to me is the big story here that's going to get overshadowed by this being an award-winning TV series set in the Cold War.
I agree. I thought we were going to get to the bottom of that, of the propaganda campaign, and which is the only thing the Mueller report does well. And I read that part of the report, which is it lays out what the online propaganda campaign was all about. And they spent $100,000 on Facebook. That's it. That's all they had to spend. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's like a mid-level manager salary to overthrow, to change the election result.
Anyway, so I just want to apologize for being an idiot about it and not realizing it was the Americans. But at the same time, I feel like I'm kind of justified in it.
Sometimes I post stuff and, you're being sarcastic or ironic when you post it and you realize after. So that, to me, I would have taken that as you were pretending that you did not know that was the Americans.
Well, thank you for giving me some credit.
Yeah.
I did not know. I literally did not know that was the Americans. But I will watch. Now that I know what the Americans is about, I'm going to watch it. It sounds like amazing. I kind of wish it was set in modern times. I really do, because that would be, I think, more meaningful if they actually set it during the time it happened. But whatever.
It doesn't really matter, that show, because when you start watching that show, you get like it's shockingly good, and in the same way The Sopranos was good. In that on one hand it moves slowly, on the other hand it's riveting. So it's one of those where you're kind of, you explain it to people and they're like, well, that sounds boring, and you're like, no, it's not. It's like every little, every moment, everything is like, is this going to turn into something, or is this just going to go away? Like The Sopranos had that a bit, where like somebody would cross Tony at a restaurant or something. You'd be like, ooh, is this going to be the mob boss? And then it would turn out just to be like some other guy that Tony had a beef with, and you never heard about it again. like it was sort of like that. It always just kept you guessing. Yeah, right into the end of The Sopranos, it kept you guessing. And I'll say the Americans is similar. It just keeps you guessing. And all the best shows do that, and then at the end you want more. Leaves you wanting more. And so I recommend it. I have recommended it on the Media Nerds, but it's worth it. It really is. It on Netflix
it's
now?
Not. No, it's not. I have to get FX. I have to subscribe to FX. It's part of that network, and I do believe that if I subscribe, it will get access to all the episodes. So I'll look into that. I'm still have got some other stuff going on. We'll talk about next week on Media Nerds. We'll talk more about all the series that have been going on as we approach. Of course, we are getting closer and closer to the Mandalorian. Hey, he mentioned Star Wars. Only like 5 minutes into the Star Wars podcast.
Let's talk about Star Wars.
Yes, and I should start by saying that I have purchased Squadrons. I've been playing Squadrons. I bought it last night. I was just kind of bored and noodling around on my Xbox. I'm like, what the heck? It was $55. Actually, I got a deal on it because I signed up. So I canceled my Xbox Game Pass. I just found I wasn't using it very much. And the games on there, I tried most of them, and there wasn't a ton of them that I like. The main game that I got from that was Grand Theft Auto 5, and I kind of had played through it. And then so I canceled that just to save a little bit of money. But then I went ahead and signed up for the EA Sports subscription service, which is not just EA Sports, just EA Play it's called. And it's the same thing. It's a monthly subscription service. It's only $5 a month as opposed to the $10 for the Game Pass. And you get access to all these EA games, of which many are sports games. So if you like the Madden, if you like the NHL games, but also the Star Wars games. So because they have that tie-in with Star Wars, and I signed up for this plan, I got a $5 discount off of the Star Wars Squadrons game. So it was only $50, not $55. But I did play it last night, and I have to say it's a learning curve for me. I'm not great at these flight games, and it is a flight simulator. This is not like an arcadey kind of pick up and play type of a thing. You really have to get these controls right. Because I was getting frustrated pretty early on with this game.
Well, that's fascinating that you know how all the subscription packages work, because I have not even ever cracked that. One time I bought the Xbox Pass because you and I were playing Gears of War.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
Xbox Live. That's the live service, like to get online. But
the Game Pass gets you the free play.
Game Pass gets you basically a selection of games that you can play at your leisure. It's like Netflix for video games,
right?
And the EA one is as well. And but the thing is, EA also includes The Sims. If you like The Sims, that's in there. It's also got Skate 3, which is a great skateboarding game. And what else? Plants vs. Zombies. My kids love that series. So there's some cool games. I thought it'd just be a nice change, and it's all got all the Star Wars games as well. It's got a lot of past Star Wars games on there that I can play that I don't think I have played. So I'm going to go back and take a look at that. But again, Squadrons it's a lot of fun. It's a great, very immersive experience. It does remind me a lot of Wing Commander and some of those other games, but it is seriously, it is tough to control. This thing, you've got one stick is your throttle, and then kind of your pitch, like your you can rotate, you can do complete 360s and that kind of stuff, and then the other one is just your controls, and then you've got basic blasters and torpedoes and that kind of stuff. But it's like they start you off and you switch back and forth in the story mode. You switch back and forth from the Empire to the Rebels, and it takes place I can't remember, it takes place during the original trilogy, but I'm not sure when. I should know this, but it's like sometime around the original. Darth Vader's still around. So it is like sometime before the end of Return of the Jedi. And basically you're kind of, and you're following the story of this, I think it's a TIE fighter pilot who defects to the Rebels. And so you kind of follow both sides of it. So in the first level, you're flying a TIE fighter, and then they spend the entire level teaching you how to fly it and showing you all these things. And then you switch over to the X-Wing, and they spend another level teaching you how to fly the X-Wing. So it's a bit of a slow start to this game.
But is this, are you wearing the helmet? Are you wearing the 3D blah, blah, blah?
You don't see any, no, I didn't, no, I have not done it. I'm just playing on my
TV.
TV.
Virtual reality, sorry, I called it 3D.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the virtual reality thing. I'm just doing the TV thing. And it is very, it is locked. You are locked in the cockpit view. You cannot zoom out. You cannot go to any other view. But that is the nature of this game. It is a simulator. It is, for the hardcore simulator nuts, they're going to love this, because this is everything that, Microsoft Flight Simulator and all these other flight simulator games that are super realistic, this is what that is. This is meant to be. It's a super realistic look at what it would be like to fly a TIE fighter. And it is cool, but it is hard to do.
So it doesn't sound like you have much story so far in this game.
Not right now. I've got a little bit of the story. I only played a couple levels in, and then I just kind of got bored and moved on. But it does. I mean, I'm going to play, and I did move my difficulty level down to story mode.
Oh no!
I was at the pilot level, and I'm like, this is too hard. So I put it down to story mode just so I can watch the cutscenes and stuff more easily, and it's fine. I mean, if it seems like a great Star Wars story. I'll give you more on it when I'm further along in the game, but just the initial thoughts, very, very a steep learning curve, but once I get the controls, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with it.
Oh, cool. And I definitely want to know playing it with the VR thing, because I've heard the complaints I've heard about it are exactly what you said, that there's no walking around mode. The transition from story to fighter mode is a little clunky, I heard.
Yeah. Sometimes you just, like, in the middle of everything, it stops and you're, like, back into the story mode. Like, there's no set end to it. It's like, follow, and there's a lot of following a guy around. Follow your leader around. So you get used to, again, the first couple levels are all getting used to the controls. So you follow the red leader or whatever his name is to this part of the thing. And then you have to sneak up on the Star Destroyer and then attack. And it's very cool, but, again, it's very difficult to keep track of everything. If you're not used to flight simulator games, which I am not.
So you'll give us an update as you go along through the game. Oh, that's great. Because I definitely was tempted to buy it this week. I was thinking about it, and I was like, I want to hear a little more about it before I buy it. And
you'll hear more from me.
I never have time to play video games when we're teaching. That's another thing. It's so hard.
Yeah, last night was a bit of I had a bit of downtime. I was marking. Yeah. But I stepped away to play some video games, and I thought, well, what the hell? I'll give this a try. What I really want to talk about this week, a couple of different things, actually. Our friend Pablo Hidalgo has a couple of new books out that I came across. And one of them in particular offers, I guess, the official Snoke theory, because it's a reference book. So this is the first one is called The Star Wars Book: Expand Your Knowledge of a Galaxy Far, Far Away. And it was it's not even out yet. It's being released on the 20th of October, so a few days from now, and it's by Cole Horton, Pablo Hidalgo, and Dan Zer. So it's three guys contributing to kind of, and it's very similar to all the other books that Pablo has done. It's got a lot of images in there and references and explanations of stuff beyond what the movies tell you. And then what happened was, because this book was released in the UK, like at the beginning of this month, there are pages that have been leaked and pages that have been, posted online that people are kind of talking about all over the world. And one of these is the entry on Snoke, on Supreme Leader Snoke.
I actually saw a headline that said "New Snoke Theory explains blah blah blah," and I went right back into my default mode, which is theories explain nothing. But maybe in this case,
I would say this is probably officially canon because it's a Lucasfilm book. It's Pablo's involved. So I would say this is as official as we're going to get as far as an actual story for Snoke. But my question is, okay, I'll ask the question after I read it. Because I think when you hear this, you'll kind of like realize what had to happen here. Okay. For much of its history, the First Order lurks in the shadowy edges of the unknown regions. Its leader is a towering humanoid with a broken build, a scarred being known only as Snoke. Though a Force user of impressive power, he denies any Sith lineage. In fact, only scant details exist regarding to his origins. Of course, we know nothing about him. It's possible Snoke himself may not know his true nature. Snoke is a strand cast, an artificial genetic construct concocted by the resurrected Darth Sidious to be his proxy in power. So first of all, I'm interesting that they use the word resurrected Darth Sidious, like as in the Emperor did die and then was brought back to life. That's something that's implied there. Snoke has free will, but his actions and goals are still orchestrated by Sidious. Snoke senses the coming of Rey as an awakening in the Force. He is disappointed by First Order leader Kylo Ren's inability to stop her. He goads Ren, all to push the darkness in him. Snoke, who's ordinarily extremely cognizant of Ren's thoughts and motives, does not foresee that Ren will outmaneuver him. And that's basically that's the first two movies summed up. Everything that Snoke does is summed up into one paragraph there. And then it shows a picture it says clone brothers. On Exegol, Emperor Palpatine holds many genetic copies of Supreme Leader Snoke in a vat. So shows a picture of his clone buddies. Through Snoke, Sidious sidesteps the tradition of a dark side apprentice slaying his master to ascend, which happens when Kylo Ren betrays Snoke and slices him in two. Ren then assumes the mantle of Supreme Leader of the First Order. Ren's examination of Snoke's past turns up more mysteries and dead ends. Ren fully expects that dark voice he has heard in his head for years to disappear. Oh, he expects the voice to disappear once Snoke dies, but it does persist. This points to someone manipulating Snoke, and Ren's search for answers uncovers the presence of the Emperor, who is believed deceased on Exegol. There, in a laboratory deep in a Sith sanctuary, are other Snoke bodies resting in a nutrient fluid. That's pretty much it. So
Nutrient fluid.
So basically, what it's saying is that, and I guess we kind of already knew this. We kind of inferred this from the movie, from The Rise of Skywalker. Is that Snoke Palpatine genetically created Snoke as a stand-in for him. And you're shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
Well, it's ridiculous.
Okay, why is it ridiculous? Are you saying their Snoke theory sucks?
No, I'm not saying it sucks. I'm saying that poor Pablo had the rough job of helping J.J. Abrams explain his idea. And I think that's what that explains that more than it explains what happened. Because like if you actually, well, first of all, I like that you said the word scant, because I was like, was that Snoke's original name? Scant?
Scant.
He was known only as Scant because there was no details about him.
Yeah.
No, but and by the way, I'm looking at my Snoke figure right now across the room. I have an action figure of a zombie that was used by Palpatine. So he's standing. Snoke is looking at me while I say this. But I think, okay, so if you're gonna put a humanoid in charge of in your stead, why are you gonna put a battle damaged one?
Yeah, why does he have that kind of scar in his face?
Yeah,
what happened there?
Do they all the clones have the same picture? This guy,
I don't remember. I think we'd have to do a freeze frame on it to look at the nutrient fluid.
And
but I
mean, how long was this guy out there? That's what I want to know. How long was this clone? Was he there in Return of the Jedi? Behind the scenes, was he?
No, actually, what I'm taking from this is that, okay, so Palpatine dies. Vader kills Palpatine at the end of Return of the Jedi, and he dies, but his Force Ghost is still around, and his Force Ghost finds a way to inhabit a new body, probably a clone body, right? I think we've talked about that. I don't know if that's been officially confirmed, but everyone seems to agree that is the most likely thing, that he had clone bodies waiting for him, and it's Dark Empire stuff. It's all been done before, so that is his goal. So, but instead of him coming back right away and taking power again, he builds it up through a proxy through Snoke, so that he doesn't get killed again. So he's saying that because the Sith apprentice relationship is always about the apprentice killing the master, which happened, it happened with Darth Vader killing him with that kind of thing, but it's something that's supposed to be happening throughout the Sith lore, that he didn't want to happen again, so he created a false Sith Lord in Snoke, someone to stand in that would to be killed. He created Snoke to be killed by Kylo Ren, is basically what they're saying.
Right. I still, okay, fine if that's the explanation. But what I would say, and I stand by this, which is a better film would have that battle at the beginning of the film, toward the beginning of the film, the Rey Kylo battle. You kill him, you make the rest of the film about Kylo's journey to find, like, who was behind this. Right.
That's the part that was skipped over in between movies, right? That was the problem, is that they kind of showed us a montage of that at the beginning of The Rise of Skywalker, but they didn't really show us much, including like scenes like, again, on what was that planet again? Darth Vader's planet, where his castle is Mustafar. So including, like, what was supposed to be Mustafar that we didn't understand was Mustafar because it wasn't obvious. So yeah, I just think it's. I mean, I guess they're trying to put this to rest, but it very clearly, J.J. Abrams had a certain idea for Snoke that Rian Johnson did not carry forth, and then kind of forced J.J. to write this explanation, and that's exactly what happened. This to me confirms that is what happened in that.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
process.
I mean, that's more what it. I think that's more what it explains than anything. But I mean, I can live with it. But once again, a film, it's the old Roger Ebert saying, a film is how it's about. How do you show this thing? Not like, oh, he's a clone. Oh, well, then the film sucks. No, that's not how it works. Well, the way it works is, oh, it turns out that Snoke's a clone. You're like, ooh, how does that get revealed? That's where either it works or it doesn't work. And I think most people's beef with it, I mean, there's people who don't have a beef with it, but for the folks who do, I think that's the main, like, what? You're just going to roll out the Emperor here right at the beginning? Like, that's where we're going with this? Like, it just seemed, it could have been such stunning and incredible reveal. And I think that's it'd sort of be like in between Star Wars and Empire, in the opening crawl, Darth Vader, who has announced he's Luke's father, like in the opening crawl, and you're like, pardon? And that's sort of what the Dead Speak did. Mm-hmm. The Dead Speak was like, for some reason, Emperor Palpatine made an announcement on Fortnite. I just think the how it was rolled out is where the devil lies.
Yes.
Because it's not, it doesn't offend me for the story, but it's the how. I think we can just, you and I could just sit here and write a better way to that.
Yeah, I agree. It's some interesting little things here in this entry. It takes it like this. This is on inverse.com, and it shows a photo of the page. So I'm actually reading from the page with the layout and everything on it, and it's got like a holocron file with these little kind of poll stats, and it says, for example, his name is Snoke. His species, genetic strand cast, which means artificial species. So it's not even a real species. It was just created for the purpose of doing this. Abilities: force perception, telekinesis, force lightning, aim, galactic conquest, and then status report: slain by Kylo Ren. So my question is, why did the Emperor just roll out another clone instead of revealing himself? Right? Like, why?
Snoke was immortal.
Well, exactly. That would have been probably kind of a good
could have been a great
I think that would have been interesting.
Or like, I can't believe they killed Snoke, and then he showed again, and you're like, oh my god, like what's happening? Like he's back again. Like he can fuse his body back together. Like there'd be a whole questions, but then the end more interesting. But I also like the question, which is if you created a clone. Okay, so first of all, why would you make him battle dead, as we said? Secondly, why would you dress him in an ornate gold robe? Like what? Like who made that decision?
No, that's like everything that Palpatine wants to express, but he's not allowed to because he's a Sith, and Sith are supposed to wear dark robes. So he's like, okay, I really want to wear this gold robe. I can't get away with it, but Snoke can.
Who had the vision for the whole look, for that whole thing? Like, whose idea? And the other thing is, if you're trying to get like in Force Awakens, I think Leia says Kylo was seduced by Snoke to the dark side. And you're like, wouldn't it be easier to seduce someone to the dark side by making them pleasing looking? By not making them look like an evil, cackling maniac? Like that would be much easier. You probably wouldn't have needed anything to make that happen. All the triggers were already there.
Yeah.
So you could have converted Kylo years earlier, probably, than what you did.
And the other thing is that if the Emperor is able to clone himself and just kind of come back to life, then what is he worried about his own life anyway? Like, why can't he just be like? Honestly, it's like rebranding. It's like completely starting a new brand. Although it's kind of based on the existing brand of the Empire. Like, the First Order is like an off-brand empire in that they have like all the same stormtroopers, Star Destroyers, all the same like ranks, and everything is the same, except they're just calling themselves the First Order. Like, why do that anyway? Like, why not just be the Empire? That's a whole other discussion.
Well, it's like this week was the new iPhone launch, and it was the same thing for the First Order, where they had launch and Snoke came out in his bathrobe, and
Tim Snoke,
he showed up and he was like, "We got a new." These stores are way different than the old, but really they just smoothed over the edges a little bit, and it was just a rebrand. It was an empty rebrand and maybe Tim Cook was there. I don't know. We don't get to see how they did that redesign or rebrand.
Yeah.
But there's looking at the First Order who are trying to like invoke the spirit of the Empire, just taking the ideas out of what's already done.
I just want to say, as far as this book is concerned, it is available on Kindle and it comes out October 20th, available on Kindle and hardcover. So I might just buy the Kindle version because it's cheaper. And it is, and I love it. In the description on Amazon, it says written by Star Wars experts, including fan favorite Pablo Hidalgo, which I love that they call him out as being a fan favorite because we all love Pablo. And so he wrote that book, but he also wrote another book, and he has sole credit on this second Star Wars book that is called, oh shoot, I had it and I lost it here. It's called Star Wars Fascinating Facts. And again, well, that one's out October 13th, so it just came out. Not available on Kindle, only on hardcover. It's a compendium of hundreds of little-known facts about all 9 episodes in the Skywalker saga, from behind-the-scenes on-set tidbits to stories about how the tale of Star Wars was created. Profiles of important characters and early drafts of scripts show what might have been, details of how famous scenes were filmed, and other first-hand accounts from cast and crew members. So that sounds really, really cool. So it's kind of like basically what Pablo's been doing the whole time is compiling research and all of this stuff. And so this is kind of the result of that, which is really, really cool.
And the only books I buy on Star Wars now are Pablo writes. Those are the only ones that I really have that I've bought since the Force Awakens novel. I think I've only bought Pablo books.
Yeah, and I don't have it here, but including the short story collection, which Pablo also wrote.
Yeah.
A lovely short story about Grand Moff Tarkin that I think was really well done. And when he was here a couple years back for FanQuest, I said to him, I was getting him to sign that book, I said, you should do more fiction. And he's like, I would love to, I just don't have time. Like he has some fiction Star Wars stories in him, and I'm hoping that at some point he will write like a novel or a series or something. Like he's a very good author, and of course he's known more for the research and for the hard facts, so to speak, of a fictional universe. But he couldn't write something. He can write great prose as well.
Yeah. If I worked at Lucasfilm, I would be known as the guy who makes good coffee. That's what I'd be known as. I would have. They're real. I wouldn't even make the credits. Probably, they might say thank you to Coffee Boy Larson.
So here's something just to give you a taste of what this book includes. Star Wars Fascinating Facts lives up to its name. This is from a review on GamesRadar.com. Pages from the book posted on Twitter reveal that George Lucas was going to kill Luke Skywalker in Episode 8. So they're talking about the original George Lucas treatments that he gave to Disney when he sold the franchise that they completely ignored. Similar to what happened in Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi.
Not completely, no. Because
Because what?
Because Luke dies. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
You don't know by now. The book also notes that a female Jedi Knight who was trained by Luke was always going to be the central character, and that Luke was going to be a Colonel Kurtz type character. Just to explain, Kurtz be the elusive maniac in Apocalypse Now. I don't know do they need to explain that? Do people not know who Colonel Kurtz is? Anyway.
Yeah, you know what it's like. You're a teacher. You
reference.
You
Pop
try to
culture
use
reference falls flat. Yes, happens all the time.
That's all of them, because nobody has a shared experience anymore. By the way, you know what somebody said in my class yesterday? Who is Salvador Dali? Who is Salvador Dali? And of course he starred in Hello Dolly. No,
DALI.
But and by the way, that's a complaint about me. Is that I would expect a young person.
It is hard, I guess, to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
I actually went to see the Dolly exhibit at the art gallery last year, the year before, a couple of years ago. It was great, cool little exhibit.
Amazing,
Salvador Dali. So it says here that years before The Last Jedi began development, the treatment left behind by George Lucas in 2012 also had Episode 8 be the one wherein Luke Skywalker would die. Another titled Colonel Kurtzwalker states, although Luke Skywalker only barely appears in The Force Awakens, the concept artists had a lot to imagine based on fragments of the story they were hearing as it developed. Rey was on a mission to seek out Luke Skywalker, who had disappeared. As described by George Lucas, Rey is like Willard going up the river to seeking out Colonel Kurtz, an allusion to Apocalypse Now. Yeah, but the problem is Apocalypse Now is about the journey he experiences as he travels through Vietnam to find Kurtz. The whole movie is that, right? From the ride of the Valkyries, helicopter bombing run to going up the river. There's all kinds of stuff that happens to him. But for the journey to find Luke, it happens at the end. It's like shoved into the end of The Force Awakens, and it happens in like 5 minutes. She finds him. Here's the map. Boom. we find where he is, and then that's it. So not quite the same way, not told in the same way. That would have been a good Star Wars movie, I think, if she had to do all the stuff that Michael Sheen had to do. Michael Sheen? Who am I thinking of?
Who?
Charlie Sheen's dad, Michael Sheen.
Oh, Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I knew there was a Sheen. There is also an actor named Michael Sheen.
Yeah. That's what threw me. That's why it took me a second, because like I could just conjure that up right away. But when we do a podcast, it's hard to think on our feed too.
You bet. That's the nature of podcasting.
I guess it's my opening to mention that Martin Sheen and the cast of West Wing on HBO are doing the reading of one of the old scripts.
When is that happening?
Well, here's the problem. It's on HBO Max, and it is not. It's supposed to be tonight, I think. It is not scheduled. We might get it on demand in Canada.
Man. What is HBO Max anyway? I don't understand what this is.
I know it's some US only, so we can't see it.
Fuck
yeah,
off.
I know.
We finally get HBO on demand here, the way we've been minting like for years, and then they still have to have some other freaking thing that we don't get.
I know they have to. That's right. They have to invent
ridiculous.
something that we don't have access to make them feel better. That's what always happens. But it might have it on demand. So we'll see. But yeah, it was not in the schedule. I looked to see. Unfortunately, another non-Star Wars fact.
Okay, and then this also quotes from other stuff. Here's a quote. Everyone hated it in Phantom Menace when we started to talk about midichlorians. Lucas told fellow director James Cameron in his book, James Cameron's Story of Science Fiction, there's a whole aspect to that movie that is about symbiotic relationships, to make you look and see that we aren't the boss, that there's an ecosystem. So he even gets into kind of explaining what the wills are, Journey of the Wills, that we never really get into, but that was going to be part of this as well. So this looks, again, seems like a very, very cool book, and I'm going to go see if I can pick it up this weekend. If it's only in hardcover, I'm sure it's available in bookstores. I guess I could just order it on Amazon, but I like to buy things in person.
I got a gift kit burning off for McNally, so I should probably go pick it up as well. I usually go there once a week just to see what's new. So I guess it wasn't out last week. That's why I wouldn't have seen it. But and also while we're talking about Star Wars books, Pablo didn't do it, but the Star Wars cookbook has been front racked at McNally for a while, and it looks pretty good. It looks like I think it's the menu items at from the theme parks. I think that's what it is. So, but anyway, I've been looking at that book, kind of going, maybe I should.
Okay.
Maybe make some Wookiee cookies or something. Not that those are in there. I don't know that they're in there, but
no, but those. I mean, didn't Chris Shipman make us some Wookiee cookies once?
He did.
I think he did. So I don't think that's a difficult recipe to find. He really wanted to make some.
Are you suggesting that Chris Shipman only does stuff that's easy to find?
No, I'm not. Of course not. This is the guy that goes down to the U.S. for freaking cereal. Okay, so one more thing, and I'm going to talk to you about if you found any interesting toys out there. But Amazon Prime Day was this week, and so a couple of days of like sales. I didn't buy anything. I don't know. Did you buy anything?
No, and I actually saw a lot of pushback onto Prime Day on social media this year.
Oh, really?
Forever, yeah. Shop is what they're saying.
Just because.
Yeah,
and the whole pandemic. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's a big issue right now, right? With people like Amazon is kind of taking over, and local businesses are already struggling because nobody's going out. But I thought anyway, this article is just a good indication of some of the hot Star Wars toys. Maybe if you have a Star Wars fan in your life, or if you're listening to this podcast, you likely are a Star Wars fan, and maybe this is something you could put on your own wish list for the holiday season. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through some of these. So one is the Funko Pop Star Wars. Actually, I'm going to try sharing my screen so you can see this. So Funko Pop Deluxe Star Wars Battle at Echo Chewbacca. And I mean, neither of us are Funko collectors, although I've been kind of tempted. I have to say, I've been tempted a few times to want to get one of these. I'm kind of trying to build my set. And it's a mess right now, but I have a bookshelf behind me, I have posters behind me. And so my set is like my presentation. We're going to be doing this remote teaching for a while. So I want to make sure that, I have a good geek space set up here. Just like a YouTuber. So I'm trying to look for maybe some toys to put in the background there. And Funko's kind of make a good display toy. It's cheap. It's like something you can collect. That's why they're so popular. It's easy. It's very easy to collect these things. Although there are so many out there. Like, you cannot be a completionist when it comes to Funko Pop, because there's so many different things that there's no way you can collect everything. Although I'm sure people have tried. But this looks cool. It's like basically it's Chewbacca from Echo Base from Hoth from Empire Strikes Back. It is just a Funko Chewbacca, which I really like.
I would totally buy that. And I've got I actually have a shirt I bought at the Levi Chewbacca in that pose where he stands up. I don't know what Levi's was doing because all they had was that, and I think Leia. I think that was it, or maybe R2D2 as well. So I bought one because I just that scene. So I'm like you. I might buy all of those Funko figures. I got the Emperor Luke, and C4. I've got 3.
The next one on the list, the Lego Star Wars Boosted Droid Commander, which I assume is a Lego set that allows you to build different droids. And this one has, we can see a Gonk droid, R2D2, the little, what's that little mouse droid, I guess it's called, right? The thing that scoots around on the Death Star. So again, this is Lego. And again, not something either of us are really big on, although Jack got a really cool Lego set a while ago that he put together, and it's kind of neat. It's the, I don't know if I talked about it or not. It's the scene on it just before the higher ground scene. So as Anakin and Obi-Wan are battling in Revenge of the Sith on the hover droids, remember they're like over the lava and they're fighting, that scene, and it actually lets you move stuff around. So once you build it, you can actually repose it and set it up in a different way. So that's really cool. And so Lego has done a lot. I mean, obviously Lego, it says here right in this piece that Lego and Star Wars are kind of synonymous at this point. Like there's so much, everything that's Star Wars is also released as Lego, so this is kind of neat. And I like the idea of building actual droids with Legos as opposed to like building a building or a vehicle, right?
Yeah. No, I'm looking. Here's the problem, Dan. You're sharing your me, and now I'm looking at it.
Okay, well, you can hear me though, right? It does seem a little pricey. It seems that it's so 1,077 piece set. $135. I'm assuming that's US. That's quite pricey. And that is the big problem with a lot of these Lego sets, is they're freaking expensive. Man, even the thing I got for Jack was maybe $15, and it's small. It's a small little thing with 2 figures, and that's it. Like, to get a decent size vehicle or a set for Lego, you're talking at least $50, if not more. Right, so that to me is the big stumbling block when it comes to Lego. And in the past, when my kids were younger, we would get like the big Lego sets of just like random Lego pieces that you can buy. There's just a box full of Legos, and then you just build whatever. Like it's never been about building the specific things, but yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That's what the whole Lego movie's about. It's about use your imagination, and then like that was basically the precursor to we're selling where we tell you what to make. Yeah, ridiculous.
It's a model kit. It's basically a model
kit.
Those
hypocrites over there at Lego. I've got half a mind to fly to Denmark or wherever they're wherever they are.
Just go to the Mall of America. Go to their Lego thing in the middle of the mall. There, they've got a big Lego store and places where you can put stuff together and that kind of
stuff. Stage a protest at the Lego store.
Another Funko Pop on this is the Han Solo Star Wars Millennium Falcon with Han Solo. So it's a little mini Han Solo, and I guess these are going to be bigger. There's a bigger set of Funko Pops that have more to it. This one has a vehicle, so it is like. It's funny because it's like Han Solo sitting in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, but he's huge and his big Funko Pop head is sticking out. So I don't know. Again, I don't like this one as much as I like the Chewbacca one, just because the scale is off. Yeah. It doesn't look right. It looks like a bobblehead kind of thing.
It's okay. So, I mean, I like the idea of it, but I wouldn't buy it.
No. 3D Star Wars Nightlight. This is kind of cool. Hey, look at this.
It is super.
So it's like a hologram projector, and you can do different things on it. You can do it's right here. It shows the Millennium Falcon or the Death Star or R2D2, and it looks like, I mean, back in I guess it's Return of the Jedi, when you see the hologram of the Death Star when they're like planning their attack and everything, it kind of looks like that. It's like you can create the Death Star and show. I wonder if they have like the actual like half-finished Death Star from Return of the Jedi. That would be better.
Ooh, that'd be very cool.
Only $25, 16 different colors and 3 different patterns. So
wow.
That's it. Only 3 patterns: R2D2, Death Star, and Millennium Falcon. But I wonder if you could add to it as well.
It's only a nightlight. It doesn't actually give you the time.
No. Come on, what more do you want? I guess you can have the time.
Killed them, put a clock on there.
We have everything else in our lives gives us the time anytime we want.
Not when you're laying in bed, Dan.
I can just talk to Siri when I'm laying
in bed. I wonder what time. At least I've got a Death Star hologram there, right?
Well, yeah, it's funny because back in the day you would just stare at your clock radio, right? That's true, actually. It's what? Oh my God, I'm not going to get any sleep. When you wake up every 5 minutes,
that's right,
you're not
exactly.
getting any sleep. Anyway, there you go. Star Wars Clue. There we go. That's a gift. That's a good gift for the Star Wars fan in your life. So you can play as, all your classic Clue characters are Star Wars characters, and you have to figure out who kills who in which room, I guess.
It seems like can good characters kill good characters, or how does that work?
I guess. Wait. Inside the Death Star, you'll have to track down Darth Vader's next target, steal the plans, and get on the right vehicle out. Oh, okay. So they've changed the premise of it. It's not about finding a murderer, which is what Clue is about. It is about, so you have to find which room. Right. There's three aspects: the room, the weapon, and the person. So track down Darth Vader's next target. That's the person. Steal the plans. I guess that's the room, right? Figure out which room the plans are in, and then get on the right vehicle out. Which is like I assume they're gonna have a TIE fighter or an X-wing and the Millennium Falcon and different vehicles that you can choose from. Okay, that makes sense. I'll buy into it.
It seems like a stretch. Although
okay.
the Star
You'd
Wars
rather have the murder plot? You'd rather do the murder plot of
no, I think the Star Wars
traditional
Monopoly.
murders?
I think.
Oh, okay. How is that different?
Well, I think just it's all Star Wars. Although I played it, but I've seen it sitting there at GameStop, and I've looked at it, and I thought it might be fun to play.
I picked up, actually, speaking of board games, I picked up the Monopoly for Sore Losers Edition because it was on sale because obviously nobody wants to buy it. It was cheaper than a regular Monopoly game, and I figured, well, if we don't like the new rules, we can just play this regular Monopoly, which we can do. But it's got this weird, like, this Mr. Monopoly token, this giant Mr. Monopoly token. And if three things happen to you, or maybe it's five things, happen to you in a row, like you get sent to jail or you have to pay taxes, and, or have to pay rent even, if any of those negative things happen, every time bad things happen, you collect a token. And then once you have 5 tokens, you get Mr. Monopoly. And that gives you sweeping powers in the game. So when you're Mr. Monopoly and you land on somebody else's property, they have to pay you rent, not the other way around. So, we played one round of it. I'm like, I just kind of want to play regular Monopoly. Like, it just was not the same. Like, oh, I don't know about this. And they changed all the freaking pieces. There's like this T-Rex, this Tyrannosaurus Rex figure that never stands up. It always gets knocked over. And they got rid of the thimble. They don't have the thimble in there. So I don't know what they're doing with a Monopoly these days. There's all kinds of crazy Monopolies out there.
It's all branchins. That's all it is.
Well, this one is just like a gimmicky, and the other thing is that this extends the length of the game of Monopoly when they should be doing things to shorten the length of the game, because Monopoly goes on too long as it is.
Yeah.
Like, a good game of Monopoly will go on longer than it should, right? So there's also a 10-minute Monopoly version that I did not get because that's too short. That's not long enough. Like, who wants to play a game of Monopoly in 10 minutes? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, quick, everybody, we got a break. Let's quickly, let's knock out this game of Monopoly, this 10-minute game of Monopoly that I've got here. Yeah, it seems ridiculous.
All right, anything else from you? Have you found anything interesting out in the wild of GameStop and other retail outlets?
Yeah, looking around, once again, Winnipeg's pretty good for stock these days. And again, I think people are not spending their discretionary income on action figures as much as they used to, myself included. And I probably the big thing I saw this week was the 4-inch Empire Strikes Back figures on the retro cards. That the Star Wars Black Series that I think they came out a while ago, or the announcement was.
Well, I believe I mentioned this. I saw these at Walmart, right?
Right. The first one. This is the first time that I've seen the selection that I saw, including.
Okay, so it's like a second wave, maybe.
It might be. It was Luke on Dagobah, and it was R2D2 from Dagobah. So a dirty R2D2, pretty cool.
No, yeah, I didn't see that one actually. That sounds.
Oh,
really
it
cool.
was very good. And what was the third? God, I'm not going to remember now. But there was a third figure they had in stock. I was like, wow, they were very nice figures. And then I've been seeing more of Wars Black 6-inch figures. They've got the like the Gaming Greats or it's something like that. Gaming Greats figures. And I've yet to really find a Gaming Great figure that I think Gaming Great. I think is that great. It's like it's usually a battle droid or something. So those have been sort of coming out slowly here. Let me think if there was anything else. You know what's missing? All of the DeLorean stuff, like the Baby Yoda stuff is everywhere, so that's not really hard to get. But the stuff with the actual DeLoreans, like all those Star Wars Black figures, those are nowhere, including the Mandalorian himself is like very difficult to find. And it speaks to the degree of fandom in the Mandalorian. I think the Mandalorian is a very popular character, and I think he sells first.
I saw one at game. I was at EB Games on the weekend, and I did see a Mando figure there, and it was old Mando before he upgrades his armor. So it was that. Is that an older figure?
Yeah, and I don't have that either. I'd probably buy it. Saw it. I do like. I mean, part of what's the Mandalorian is he's always upgrading his armor, but I do like all the designs that we've seen for him so far. So I think I'd buy them. If they had a variety of Mandos, I might actually plunk down the money to buy the variety of them. I never bothered with the Off-World Jawa was a figure, and Cara Dune was a figure, and I've seen a million times. And I just go, nah, I just want Mando. I think I just want the Mando figure, and then I think I'm good.
You want the new Mando, like Mando with his good armor?
Maybe I don't know. I sort of need to, but I'd probably get them. I get whatever one I found.
Okay.
Probably, but so far I've never actually seen one. Believe it or not.
I was at Kildona Place. If you want to go there and see if it's still there. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool.
Kildona Place is so far from where I live.
That's right.
And I'll COVID on my way there. It's so far away.
I'll go down there and I see it. I'll buy it for you, and then I'll send it to you. I'll disinfect it and send it to you. Okay, so speaking of Mandalorian, we have a new TV spot, and it's weird because this one is in the square format, like it was originally. It's not really for TV. It's for Instagram or something, right? It's not. It's made for
Vertical.
social media. It's made to be seen on a phone anyway. So let's watch this. You guys, you can see this, okay?
I can see it.
All right, let's watch this.
You know this is no place for a child.
Wherever I go, he goes.
So I've heard.
This is the way.
The Mandalorian, new season streaming October 30th, only on Disney+.
All right, that's not, it doesn't tell us much. It says there was new footage in this. What was the new footage?
Him rocketing up at the end.
Oh, woohoo.
Yeah, there's a to advertise it as new footage is a bit of a stretch because it's, and there was, by the way, there was another TV spot that I saw this week that had more shots from the what was the boxing match? The boxing match scene in the first one. It had some extra shots there but it was like the same scene. So it wasn't again, look at these new shots. There was one more speeder bike scene as well, but there was nothing of huge consequence in those extra shots. I think they're just giving us a little more of what we already know, but I don't want it to be spoiled. Truth be told,
yeah, that's true. I should not. We should have even watched it. What was I thinking?
No, there was nothing in it.
There's nothing
Yeah.
in there.
But I have to be spoiled. I don't start revealing big things. We all know what Baby Yoda looks like now, so that's okay to show us that and some of that stuff. I love the Mandalorian on a ship. I love that on a ship in water. I love that. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the new season. I hope. I remember last season when we thought it was going to be an hour, and then we had those 30 minutes every. So I hope they're good. I hope they're good episodes.
Well, I think that's kind of tempered my expectations a bit, because now I don't care if it's going to be half an hour. It's going to be half an hour, and that is just the way it is. Giancarlo Esposito, I hope we see a lot of him. He is like the best villain ever. He's got to get an award at some point as to being the best villain ever for everything, because he's just like, he is in The Boys, he is in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Now he's in this. Like, he's just a great bad guy. And so he deserves to win something for that. I don't think it'll be for The Mandalorian, but at some point someone will give him an award for being just an awesome bad guy.
Absolutely, I agree. I think fantastic. He deserves all the awards, as far as I give him whatever award, because he's so good. And I'm looking forward to it. And I also noticed Pedro Pascal is doing interviews and stuff for The Mandalorian, and they're once again getting to the idea that he was not angry and storming off the set like maybe one person.
Has that been discredited now? That whole thing?
I haven't seen it officially discredited, but I've also not seen it. Nobody's responded to it seriously. Okay, let's put it that way. So okay. I don't.
Well, that means the case, and we know that's. And again, this is going back to when Pablo was in Winnipeg, and you asked him some kind of question about the future of stuff. He said, "Wait, let me get this straight. You're asking me about rumors that have not been confirmed by Lucasfilm, and that's exactly what this is: rumors that have not been confirmed by Lucasfilm." So there's
and I
nothing
said
there.
to him, "Yeah, I'm doing," and I also, and then I said something like, "You can't ask a fan to quell their enthusiasm. If a fan has questions." Let the fan ask the questions, and then you can answer them however it fits,
Right?
Kind of thing. And but most people would not even like. Most people were afraid to ask anything, and I was like, does Boba Fett alive? Pablo, is he?
Does
like?
he doesn't?
Come on, let's get it.
That is, and every time I've worked with him on this kind of stuff, the question it's always been like, I can't talk about the future. I can talk about the past. I can talk about what's happened, but I can't talk about future plans for the franchise. So that's just his hard and fast rule. I'm sure you can ask all the questions you want, but he's not going to answer them.
Yeah, but things like, were you on the set of The Mandalorian season 2, is something that I think he would answer, and it's.
Oh yeah, I think that's fine, because as long as he's not giving any details away about the story, he's okay talking about his experiences, and he's tweeted out stuff as well. I remember him tweeting stuff from the set of Solo that he was talking about this dog that was like one of the those devil dogs they had, like chasing them down. There was a dog underneath that costume, and he showed us some photos of the dog and that kind of stuff. Like that kind of stuff he does all the time.
Yeah,
He's also been more active on Twitter lately. I don't know if you noticed that, but Pablo's back on Twitter.
I took notes during Pablo's Solo when he did the Solo presentation, and there's still stuff in there that I really haven't seen. Now I'm gonna have to think of one, but I can't. But every time I look at them, there's absolutely stuff that he talked about, like the dog and the costume and things like that, that really have not been reported on to any great extent. Like, so he did provide insight into the film that we otherwise wouldn't have had.
All right, I think that's about it for today. Great discussion on Star Wars. Hey?
Thank you very much. I got a class coming up in 4 minutes, and so this was a wonderful precursor to what will be a wonderful learning experience for my students.
I'm sure it will. 2 weeks out from The Mandalorian, so we will keep talking about it as we approach. And at some point, we should do a watch along with The Mandalorian. I just realized this now. We have not done that. We've done every movie except for the last Return of the
Solo.
The Rise of Skywalker.
We haven't done. Did we do?
No, we've done Solo. We just haven't. We haven't actually. We were going to redo it, right? We were going to redo that.
Oh, right.
But we also haven't done The Mandalorian, so we should do that as well.
Yeah. Hey,
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Badabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
Where did you dig up that old fossil? Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power